I might very well lose the light on that side of this video before this video ends, because I didn't charge it properly, and it might happen, so excuse me in advance if that happens. I wanted to make a video about something that I actually think is really important. More important than if you're using a Panasonic S1 II or an S1 IIe or an FX3 or an FX30 or a new Nikon camera, or even if you're using a GH5 or if you're using a Nikon or whatever you might be using, Canon, doesn't matter. Because the thing is, when I'm working on projects, I think that what I think about is I want those projects to endure. You know, I want them to live forever. I want to be able to pass them on to somebody. You know, I don't have any kids, but I want them to live for longer than I live. I don't want to lose them. And the funny thing about that is that I don't keep my YouTube videos. They live on YouTube. And so I feel like these videos, excuse me, I have a little cold. These videos are just going to live as long as YouTube lives. That's it. They don't really mean that much to me, to be honest with you. I enjoy making YouTube videos. I love the exchange that I get. But everything that I do really is with the intention of feeding people over to my, what I consider my real work. My theater work, my filmmaking work, the work that I do outside of YouTube. You know, I make feature films, I work documentaries, and I'm a solo theater artist. I'm a performing artist. And really that's what I'm focused on. And that's what I want to keep, you know. And so I think a lot about storage. And, you know, I know that this might have it began and you thought this is going to be some kind of spiritual video or something like that, or a technical video about cameras or whatever, but really it's about what kind of importance do you hold on storage, on keeping your stuff, on making sure that what you create lives forever. And I'm just going to say that if YouTube means a lot to you, then this should apply to your YouTube videos. If you're like a full-time YouTuber and you're putting out content that you think is important for the world, or if you want it to be a part of your legacy, you should apply this to YouTube videos. But certainly, if you're doing features or short films or creating, you know, stories that are important to you, that you feel are really your contribution to the world, what you are doing to make your life make sense. Because, you know, I'm like, my whole life is about telling stories, creating these stories, working on them every day of my life, and then sharing them. And so it's really important to me that they exist. And so I have my own website. I don't rely upon social media, even though I have social media. And obviously I'm here at YouTube, but I don't rely upon this to exist, because this can all be taken from us at any moment. You know, you don't own it. You know, it's not yours. Facebook is not yours. Instagram is not yours. TikTok, YouTube, none of it. Your website is yours as long as the internet exists, you know. As long as you pay your host, you know, as long as you keep that going, yeah, it's your website. But more importantly, you have to think about how to store this stuff so that it can endure even if all of that goes away. And so for myself, I don't rely upon the cloud either. I'm just here to say that I highly recommend that you write into your budget all the time. Just make this a part of your life, just like toothpaste and shirts and pants and underwear and cameras and lights and gimbals and everything else. Like, include this into your life's needs. Hard drives. And if you can afford a RAID system or something like that, that's fine. But what I do is I have tons of HD drives, you know, just the ones that spin as backups, because you could buy like 5, 8 terabyte drives for less than $200. In some cases, less than $100. Or you can get SSDs really cheap. Like I just bought a 2 terabyte Samsung T7 the other day for 119 bucks. Because I'm working on a documentary and I want it to have its own hard drive. But I'm backing up everything on that because I use Glyph drives for my work. You know, Glyph are really reliable drives. They're really powerful and robust, And I trust them, and they're fast, and they work really well. So I've been a customer of Glyph since I was doing digital audio. And so I always have the main drive that I'm working on. Like when I shoot something, I come home, I dump it onto my main drive, and then I back it up onto 3 other drives. So I have a backup SSD and maybe a couple of 2 or 3 HD drives. And I have like an entire closet filled with hard drives, clearly marked, every one of them. I know what they are. I know what's on them. And I feel like that's the best I can do, you know? Also, like if you're a photographer, I highly recommend that you print your work. You know, don't just leave it on your cards, you know, SD cards, micro SD cards, whatever you use, hard drives. Like with films, obviously it's different, it's hard. With theater, you know, publish your scripts. Publish your screenplays if you're making films. Like think of every possible way that you can keep this work so that when you're gone, it still exists. Because I think if you're an artist, if you're really an artist at heart, you know, if you're living the artist's life, if it's something that is like what you are and who you are and not so much what you do, you want it to exist. It's like children. It's like legacy. You know, it's who you, it's you. And you know, our lives are so fleeting. You know, we come and go. We're here for such a short amount of time. So you try to do as much as you can while you're here. And then you think about, how am I going to make this exist, you know? Used to be that we had CDs or cassettes or 8-tracks or VHS, or there were so many different formats to keep things. And now we have all these digital formats. But I mean, I think it's really important to try to think of as many different ways to keep your stuff as possible. And so for me, it's tons of hard drives. I keep it there. And I always make final copies, and then I put it out, you know. I put it out and I share it with the world. And honestly, I'm going to make DVDs of everything that I have. Blu-ray, DVD, whatever format I can find. You know, I mean, how many feature films can you do in your life? I have 2 feature films that I already finished. I'm working on another one now. I have a mini-series that was part of a live theater performance that I did. So I actually have my live theater performance recorded with multiple cameras. I'm so grateful that that exists because I've done so many plays. I've done thousands of performances over the last 15, 20 years all over the world, and 95% of them are not documented. There are videos of me all over the internet doing poetry clubs, the New Eurekan, places like that. Like, there are so many videos of me, but my full work, my plays and my films, I want to make sure that that is documented. And again, YouTube, I don't really care all that much, you know. To me, honestly, I feel like it's kind of just, I'm just like a part of a minutia of a million people. There are so many content creators. And like I said, I enjoy it. I love being here. And I love being at my Patreon channel and stuff like that. But I also realize that I have no control over it. You know, I don't know if it's still going to be here forever. Who knows? Especially given the way the world is right now. We have no idea what's going to happen. So I'm telling you, get yourself a bunch of hard drives. It's so cheap. And just keep them. And think of other ways. Again, if you're a photographer, print your work. I mean, you can go to a drugstore and print your work for 4 cents per copy. But I have prints that I sell because I'm a photographer as well. And I use this archival paper. So it costs me in excess of $60 for every print that I make. It's a lot of money, but it's worth it to me because those prints, when I sell a print to somebody, I know that's going to last for a couple of generations of a family. You know, if somebody really loves the work that they bought, if it really means something to them, if it really tells a story, I'm giving them something that's going to last for a long time. And I print the stuff for myself. I don't print everything, but I print the stuff that I want to live forever. And I don't even frame some of it. I just keep it. You know, I want to have the paper. Sometimes I like to just pick it up and touch the photographs, you know, just to have something tangible. That's why I like CDs and vinyl and things like that. That's like physical art. I also love to have CDs and vinyl because of the artwork on it, you know. I have some amazing artwork on my albums, and I'm so grateful that that exists as well. I don't like just having a million MP3s or WAV files or whatever. It takes away from a lot of the art for me. It's supposed to be a collaborative process. It's supposed to tell a story. That's why I try to put descriptions under my photographs as well, because I try never to shoot anything without having a very specific reason as to why I'm hitting the shutter button. I don't want to just randomly spray a bunch of shit. I want to shoot stuff with intention, that I'm really looking. Like, I like to shoot buildings that are abandoned because there's so much story inside of that building, and the broken windows and the busted doors and, you know, all the mold growing on top of it, and the graffiti and the paint and the broken windows. And I just think about all the life that existed in that restaurant or in that home or in that office space or whatever it is. There are stories there, and I imagine them when I see these buildings. And that's what I'm trying to convey when I share it with other people. And you know, I think anybody, when they look at a photograph, or even when they see a film, a fictional story or a non-fictional, whatever, people kind of get their own experience to be a part of the story that they're receiving as well. Because we all come from different places, we've all had different lives, and so every story means something a little bit different to each person, even though we're experiencing the same stories together. And so, I guess I digress a little bit. I think it's really important to have a way to have this stuff live for as long as possible. Because the other thing is, every day that you work, you know, if you're working on a big project that means something to you, don't take any day for granted. Because you don't know what you're going to be able to do tomorrow. You have no idea. You have no idea what's going to happen in your life, if your life is even going to exist, but also what the world is going to be like. If suddenly, you know, the electrical grid is fucked up, or like if you can't use the internet, you might just have your camera and your computer. Don't rely on the internet. That's why it's great to have backups like that. You can edit, make sure you have software that doesn't rely upon being online, that you can just use, download it on your hard drive. All you need is electricity. Try to get electricity that is solar powered so that you don't have to rely upon a grid. Like, think about, I know it sounds crazy, and I know I sound like a prepper or something like that now, and I'm really not, trust me. But I do think about these things. Like, how can I set myself up? And it's weird, I don't even think about this with regards to food or water and stuff like that, which I should. But I do think of it with regards to my art. How can I make sure that I can continue to make art? Theater, I could go out in the middle of the street and share stories. All I have to do is memorize it, or I could write it down if I want, but I don't work like that. I only memorize my work. I mean, I do write it, but then I memorize it. I don't like to perform in front of people when I'm reading because it feels like a barrier between me and the audience. I want to connect with people. I want to have eye contact. I want to physically be with this audience. So theater will live forever as long as I'm able-bodied. Filmmaking, as long as I have a camera. You know, all I need is one camera, one lens. That's all I really need. And so I always try to have, you know, the most minimal equipment that I could think of that could exist if everything else went away. So computer, software that works without having to hook up to the internet, and hard drives that I can connect that are not dependent upon Wi-Fi and stuff like that. Like, I'm just trying to have hardware that works. Music, I have guitars, you know, there are pianos around me. Like, you know, I'm trying to have stuff. It might sound old school, I might sound like a Luddite or something like that, but I'm just trying to, like, have tangible things that exist and try to make them live for as long as they can possibly live. So that's really all I wanted to share in this video. And I'm going to try to think of a good title and something to make people come to this, because I think that perhaps this is the most important kind of information to share, even more than what camera. Should you use the GH7 or the S1H or the S5 IIX or, you know, the FX3 or the FX6 or, you know, whatever. Like, you can use any camera, but you should have hard drives to back that shit up, because you could lose it at any time too. You know, there could be an electrical, you know, kind of flash or whatever. Like, anything could happen. So think about it. I don't have to go through all the possibilities. I think everybody knows that anything can happen at any time. So try to have stuff that you could rely on. Try to have, you know, the ability to charge your batteries. Again, solar powered, something like that. Like, really think about stuff like that. I think it's really important. There are a lot of people around the world who are living in places where, You know, they can't rely upon technology or even electricity or water or anything like that, and yet they're still creating art because they're figuring it out, because making art is all about solving problems. If you're an artist, you're going to make art no matter what. You know, technology is not going to stop you. You know, the things that are around you that are no longer available to you are not going to stop you. If you're truly an artist, you are going to make art, period. So think about enabling yourself to use the gear that you enjoy using no matter what happens. Like, try to figure it out, like really make a plan. But that all begins with backing your work up. Don't be that person like I've been in the past where you didn't save it or you didn't back it up and you lost a bunch of stuff that was important to you. Don't be that person. Try to avoid it. Inevitably, that could happen to anybody, but at least do the most that you can do to try to avoid that kind of situation. So for those who care, I'm using the Panasonic S5, the original. I'm shooting with my Helios 44-2, which is a 58mm lens. I think I'm shooting at around f4 or something like that. I'm not even sure because I'm using that second aperture ring. And I'm just here in my apartment, and that's why it's a talking head, literally, because I can't get too far from the camera in this small space. But I hope it looks pretty good. I love the way the Helios looks. I love the S5 so much. And please subscribe. Please hit the like button. Please consider joining my Patreon. I'm going to do a video about what artists can count on and what they can't count on as well next time, because, man, it's a very difficult world right now. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this. I appreciate you so much. And yeah, I'll see you on the next video, and that's all I got to say about that.